Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here today with us in this session about Decentralized Science, the project I will introduce on the Open Publishing Festival. Decentralized Science is a project that aims to bring transparency and rewards to peer reviewing using blockchain technology. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with blockchain technology or who is not, but our discussion goes beyond that. We want just to let you know about our project and get your opinion on what you think about transparency and rewards in peer reviewing. So our project targets one problem, that is that finding peer reviewers is a really hard task for journal editors. Journals need relevant reviewers, experts in topics, but not only that, they need that these experts will submit good, fair reviews on time and not 1 or 2 years later, as we often see. And we think maybe one of the problems or one of the causes of these problems to find peer reviewers is that reviewers do this work for free. So people in academia often receive invitations to review, and they have to do it in the time they have left from all the other tasks they have to attend, research, classes. So what we propose is the first marketplace for peer reviewers. In this marketplace, first reviewers can share the reviews they have done in the open. Then journals can find from our community of reviewers the most relevant, the better, and the fastest reviewers, getting statistics that usually they don't have, like how often they reply on time or how hard they are, if they often reject or often accept the papers that they receive. And then what we propose is that journals will give rewards for those reviewers that do a good job, either if they give a really good review or they give it really quickly. We think that should be rewarded. Unfortunately, we will not be able to show you today the application because we cannot share my screen. We have to fix that for future occasions. But that's what we propose, a marketplace of reviewers where they can share the reviews, journals can find the best reviewers, and reviewers can finally get the recognition and rewards they deserve. Of course, we are not doing this out of nothing. We are an open source project, and we extend other open source projects. Many of you might know OGS, which is the largest publishing software for open access journals. If you or your institution have some academic journals and these journals doesn't rely on big publishers, most likely you are using OGS software. And what we do is integrate our tools with the OGS database, so journals can find the best reviewers they already have. And as our community grows, they will find other reviewers that are also relevant for their topics. But we also extend other software. We are going to be part of Blocksin, which is a blockchain proposed by the Max Planck Digital Library, and that has a consortium of over 50 universities already. So this is the largest academic community of universities trying to use blockchain. And there are many other applications, not only our application will be there. So we hope this will be a great opportunity to create an ecosystem of open science, open access, open peer reviewing. And another thing we integrate with is with communities of reviewers. We want to make it really easy for reviewers to bring their reviews to our platform. So we already allow people to bring their reviews from Pavlons to get reputation for them. and from F1000 Research, which is one of the most important open peer review communities. So we are a small project. We've been working for 1 year thanks to some European funding by Ledger project, but we are already giving functionality to journals and reviewers because we build over giant shoulders, over really great tools. And we want to keep doing it. We want to keep integrating with open standards and other interesting communities. So I guess one of the most important things for us today is to find partners, allies, people that want to collaborate with us. So if you are an open access journal, an open access publisher, if you're a librarian, you are connected with preprint repositories, with universities, with organizations of open access, open science, open peer reviewing, if you're doing technology, or if you think what we do is great, it would be great to hear from you and to try to do some projects together. You can write us to hi@decentralized.science, but anyway, just find us online and let us know how can we collaborate. And what about we? Who are we? We are a small team of 4 people formed by Elena Perez, a blockchain developer, Elena Martinez, a product designer and UX designer, and Tatiana Nazarova, also a graphic designer and interface designer. And we have really great shared experience in European projects like peer-to-peer value and peer-to-peer models, and decentralized technologies like Team and Solar Team. And this shows that we are a really well-balanced team, because other blockchain projects forget that they have to serve human beings, and they just do technology that is really not, they cannot understand. Or they want to do something for academia, but they don't come from academia. That's not us. So yeah, I hope the 4 of us can keep building open technology and create connections with all of you. And I think that's all what we wanted to share today as a presentation of Decentralized Science, that we are a project that tries to bring transparency and rewards for peer reviewing, because we think faster and better peer reviews are possible, and that we can try to do it with blockchain technology. So I can try to organize a debate around all this. And maybe we can have like 5-10 minutes for questions about the project, and then have another 5 to 10 minutes to discuss about transparency in peer reviewing, and another 5 or 10 for discussing about rewards. I see that some people already shared some questions in the chat. If you want to unmute yourself and share them with us, it will be great. DG said that she or he is very little bit familiar with blockchain. Okay, not a problem. And Victor Vinima said that asked how often a reviewer rejects, or said how often a reviewer rejects is not a good metric for how hard they are. That also depends on how good the manuscripts are. That's true. So we could try to do some metrics that depends on what other reviewers said. So how hard you are in relation to the other reviewers that reviewed the same manuscript. Do you have evidence surveys that scientists want to get paid for reviewers? Sounds like more administration to me. And then I will have to do it in my free time. Okay, so that's a really good question. Some academics, they are already paid by their universities, and they consider reviewing part of that job. and they don't want to deal with the problems of getting some rewards. That's great. If you don't want to get paid for your reviews, you can say that in our network, and then the money that the viewers get will be a bit bigger for those who need money. We want to be really careful of not only considering European or United States-based researchers, but also people from the global south that would benefit from having a bit extra money and maybe better access to research that is closed now thanks to that money. Of course, we are going to promote open access and all this. It feels a bit weird that it's me, the only one speaking here. So Ben was sharing another question, but maybe he can share the question with us.
Hello.
Hello.
So I saw some text in the website about blockchain and IPFS. I'm wondering how like all this ties together. How are these technologies relevant to the platform?
Okay, so for those that are not technologists, don't worry, it will be quick and easy, and keep with us because we're going to discuss other non-technical things. IPFS is a technology that helps us to share files in a distributed network. So instead of having a journal with a centralized server that decides whether some scientific paper is shared or not, that paper is shared among many people in many different places. So we can grant open access for these papers. We will do the same for open peer reviews. So it's just a way of avoiding monopolies and avoiding centralization and promoting open access. Thank you for your question, Ben. So I'm really sorry we didn't have the presentation today, so you could see how good interface we have, because it's incredible what our team could do with a blockchain application. It's really easy to use and not scary at all. So if you want to try it, we can show it to you.
Hi, what's the problem with showing it? I mean, I could screen share if you want.
Yeah, but I have the slides on my screen and the video on my computer, and
all right.
I mean, I can try to screen share again, but I don't think it will work. I don't know why.
Do you don't have the slides online? Do you want to share the slide deck or something?
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Okay.
I mean, I will share it in the Twitter thread, so we don't stop the flow of the presentation now, because it will take some time to find a place where to upload it and so on. Thanks for.
All right, so I have some questions because I really haven't learned anything so far. Yeah, so I know all about blockchains and scientific publishing stuff. There's more detail I'd like to know. So I had a look, just looking at your GitHub now.
Yep.
So from my point of view, it doesn't feel like a project so far that's community driven. It feels like a project which is idea driven, and I share the concern of Victor that there is no real evidence that scientists wish to get paid for their reviews, and the marketplace for scientists, I don't see any evidence for that. It's kind of a fun thing to experiment with, but I'd prefer to see a project really driven, obviously, by a community and scientists that say, we want this, if you like. I know that you've got Ledger funding. I'm not quite sure what the actual code that you've got does. You talk about the marketplace, so I'd like to know a little bit more detail about that. And if you're teaming up with the Max Planck initiative, does that mean you're changing what is that relationship going to be? Are you going to reinvent that, and also the previous work, and also a big concern of projects, of particularly ones which are things like ledger funded, is what happens when the funding runs out. It's a 12-month project, and it's like we really need an infrastructure which has got like a 5-year plan of development, and obviously so a bunch of questions is just more detail about the blockchain and what it specifically adds, and are you re-engineering it now because of this new partnership, if because I would love to team up with open source projects in the blockchain space and figure out how to ensure that it's done with enough quality and scales, and I'm looking to how to make that a reality. So if you comment on about the future plans and where that's going in some more detail, I could then try and figure out how to make that a reality.
Thanks. I wrote 4 topics. Maybe I'm missing something. I will try to answer as good as I can. So first, about the evidence. Of course, this is not a really great survey, but yesterday we launched a survey asking, as a reviewer, what would you want to receive for your work? The options were, a thanks is enough, reputation, I will survive, give me the money, and all of the above. All of the above got 52%, give me the money 20%, and reputation, I will survive 28%. Thanks is enough. Nobody say that. It's only 25 people who participate, so this doesn't have validity. But we've seen many discussions. Even people think it can bring some problems. Others are enthusiastic about it, like saying, "Hey, if I can pay 100 euros to a colleague, so this person will give the reward in a week, I will definitely do it, because then I will have the publication published by my time, or I have more chances that I will have it published by the time they will evaluate me." So this is a really great and complex question. And as you said, we don't have a lot of community yet. So what we are trying to do is promote these conversations like today. And we have a forum where we want to get the community discussing about all this. It's called discuss.decentralized.science. We just launched it, but it's just to show you that we are doing community efforts to get a community, to promote the conversation, and to promote involvement. We have also several developers that wrote us, and we are organizing some community chats to coordinate the work. And of course, if we get community, we get developers, and we can collaborate with Max Planck. We are not collaborating per se, we are using their infrastructure. And we were yesterday presenting in their conference. So we were presenting for more than 45 people from many different universities. We got 3 emails from people interested to keep knowing and collaborating. So of course, what's for us in the next months? It depends. We need more funding. That's for sure. We're asking for projects, and we are looking for strong partners to ask for projects. So if you are a partner, either library, technology developer, or any other strong partner that could team up with us for asking for more funding, that would be great. In the long term, we want to be sustained by our own community. So of course we are far away from it yet, but we believe we can build a strong community of peer reviewers, sharing in the open what they do. I'm sorry if it took too long. I don't know if I replied to all of your questions.
Okay. Also intrigued. It looks like from the community and the sound of the names, apart from Tatiana, is that it's Spanish speaking. I'm just wondering what part of the world the main team are from. Is it like South America, or is it Barcelona, Madrid? Where are you based?
We are based in Madrid.
In Madrid, okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of like, because obviously, in terms of the way that a marketplace for peer review would be adopted or accepted, different parts of the world will react very, very differently to that same question.
That's true.
I just came off a call to do with open science in Africa, for instance, and that would be very different from the same discussion in the UK or in Germany, and would be different from probably, very different as you move around the world. Have you looked at that question at all?
Yeah, and actually we are really lucky. We are trying to build up a collaboration with an African Archive X. I guess they were here today. Maybe we are lucky and some of them can share why they are interested if they give interested in collaborating with us.
I was just in that call, yeah. Just now they had a call, yeah.
So yeah, we are aware of that and we embrace that. And actually, if we serve better communities of the Global South than of the people who have already more resources, we are really happy with that. It will be great. Of course, there are many challenges to get there.
So yeah, I don't know. So we're looking to do an event on July the 26th and support a project in the Blockchain for Science space, open sourcing their software. In terms of software map and what you really want to build and associations, what sorts of collaborations can you see on the roadmap that really kind of make sense? Have you got any shape of that? I mean, what are you looking for? Let's say there's this project that is open sourcing. They kind of specialize in multidimensional peer review, right, and reputation in Blockchain for Science, and other projects. How do you see your project overlapping technically? I mean, ideally, there's one kind of network of scientists that are all kind of starting to use this. You require a community and what have you. But just technically, how do you see? But given you're a small organization, what would you specialize on, and what would you look for in terms of? What would be fabulous is if there's this other project doing this, and we cooperate, if you like.
We are really open to collaborations, and as you said, we are really small part of the ecosystem. We want to be an open repository of open peer reviews, and we want to coordinate with people who is already registering peer reviews, like ORCID, to do that in the open and with open standards. Yeah. But I think because I want to discuss a bit with the community about transparency and open peer reviewing, let's maybe let this topic of the future of our project and collaborations for later on. We can speak, we can write each other, and start with these interesting topics, or at least I think they are. And maybe we can start with this about payments of reviewers that you were saying, and make it a bit more broader. We are thinking of different ways of rewarding peer reviewers. One is with reputation. Another is with badges that show good qualities of them. For instance, you could get a badge for doing 3 or more fast reviews in under 10 days, for instance. And another one is, of course, with coins and with money. And this is a more polemic, but also is really exciting for many people and really polemic. So we are not shy about it. We want to bring the discussion and see where it goes. So the floor is all yours. Somebody wants to speak about how to reward peer reviewers?
Well, I can talk about it, but if anyone else wants to speak, I don't want to take up too much space.
Thank you. Somebody else wants to share some thoughts? DG, do you want to maybe join also with your audio, or you want me to read?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. My name is Dirk Lichtenbelt. I'm from Delft University of Technology. In the research report, group in the library. And but what I said in the chat is that we teach a workshop for PhD candidates, and we talk about and we just discuss the peer review process, and it can go from double-blinded onto fully open and fully transparent. And what we notice here is that most of those candidates are very reluctant towards having their manuscripts openly and transparently peer-reviewed. They still choose for the closed, so for the double-blinded peer review process. So it also needs a kind of change of mindset for the young researchers, for instance, to have their manuscripts openly and transparently peer-reviewed. That's something else we have to deal with, I guess. I'm fully, I fully would approve open peer review, and actually we are looking into tools and also opportunities, because Delft University of Technology is setting up its own publishing platform for open access publishing, and there also the peer review process plays a very important role, of course, and that we want to choose for this open peer review process. But if you look then at the PhD candidates, how do you deal with that? That's quite another issue, I guess.
Okay, so we're speaking now then about the transparency of the peer reviewing. Is another of the topics I wanted to bring out. So maybe let's speak about this now. DG was sharing how young researchers might be scared or reluctant to share their papers to be reviewed in the open. Yes, that's true, and we are seeing that the culture is changing little by little in some fields. For instance, medical sciences have a better culture or a more open culture towards open peer reviewing. But yeah, we will see. Any more concerns? Some people wants to share about open peer reviewing and transparent peer reviewing.
If I may jump in?
Yes, please.
I'm working on a post-publication peer review system.
Yeah.
So that's the moment when the paper is in principle ready, and all you have to do is the quality assessment. I have the feeling myself that in that phase, it's not bad to have it in the open. Then you're really reviewing a finished product, and the reviews are really useful for the readers. But if you have the initial peer review, like peer community in, or how are they called? So to make a manuscript into a good scientific article, that is a much more sensitive thing, where you have to tell your colleagues that they did something wrong, which is always embarrassing. So I can imagine if you're a PhD candidate, you would prefer to have those parts closed. Whereas when the product is finished and you're happy with it, it's not a big problem when it's in the open.
Yep, that's a really good point.
My question would be about what thought, there's feedback somewhere, what thought has already gone into the different kind of identity models and the different sorts of ways you can use pseudo anonymity in the review process, and the sorts of review bodies that you can create. It's not just about open or non-open. With the right kind of scientific infrastructure, you can do many forms of openness. And it's really about working, from my point of view, working with the most receptive communities to grow better practice, respecting the fact that there's some institutional incentives currently and a history of practice which are not very receptive to the kind of knowledge architectures that anyone who studies it for any length know would be better from a collective scientific point of view, but from the individual scientist, it's not always in their interest to be that utopian, if you like. So what I think is interesting to do is, first of all, look at what communities are most receptive to that within the science community, and then to really build up some robust infrastructure using, so I'm particularly interested in, I don't know if people can share that are here, looking at self-sovereign style identity with zero knowledge proofs linked to ORCID. So I talked to them, I think about 3-4 years ago about that. So just when we have a robust scientific identity where you can be public or anonymous and makes various attestations in a rich number of ways, with an identity that has a longevity, which also means institutional support. And then working with the right community. So I think people who are currently, for instance, in the hot seat in terms of requiring well-cited journal publications, it's pretty difficult for them in their career stage to be, in some disciplines more than others, but earlier reviews from more junior people and more senior people, that's very different. So I don't know if anyone's got any comments about how to grow a community of people, an extended community of reviewers that are more experimental in terms of the platform they use, and whether it's when I look at the open science space and the science publishing space, I see understandably a lot of effort, people addressing scientific publications and kind of trying to do those publications in a different way, if you like. Well, what I would see is a more interesting approach is how do you do something that works for graduate students, and how do you and people at very early stage science, and how do you get very good professors at the point of retirement to look at architectures which don't try to duplicate the conventional reputation-based journal architecture, but do something different.
We don't want to change the conventional journal-based reputation architecture. We are really utopist, but we want to help current academic community. And we were designing our tools thinking in a young persona that was close to finish her PhD. So what we are thinking of authors that need to publish in journals with great reputation. It's great that journals with good reputation have open peer reviewing. For instance, Nature have shared open peer reviews along the articles they publish. So the culture is changing. And as before, we can only hope to promote the community involvement. We have this forum we just shared. We are trying to promote discussion in Twitter. We are going to build a community of developers. So hopefully we will develop this community that will adopt our tools, and we will see if we are exciting for young researchers and for people with more seniority. And of course, trying to improve without proposing things that are not really realistic. We would love to think of paper publications that allow for many contributors and that evolve over time, that are not evaluated through how many citations the journal has. But that's not what the reality is right now, and we need to help the current community with their needs. So I think unless other people wants to share something else about transparency, maybe we can move to the topic of rewards. Does somebody else wants to add something to this transparency topic? Okay. So then
I would like to say something.
Okay.
About rewards. I can also switch on my camera if that's
okay.
Yeah, it's switched on. About rewarding, I think if you are a peer reviewer, this should be part of research evaluation, I guess, because all research at universities is evaluated conform a lot of criteria. Criteria like publishing in high impact journals about your research, and there are some things which are not taken very much into account at research evaluation, and I think that and Blocksin is still helping there, I guess. Researchers should be or peer review should be taken into account at the research evaluations, and yeah, the more impact journals you are reviewing for, that could help your career, I guess, and also in the research evaluations of the research group or the section or whatever. So I think that is a form of rewarding. I don't know how others see this.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a form of rewarding with reputation that considers your contribution to peer reviewing as a great contribution to your academic career in your CV, right?
Yeah, and if you're asked to peer review for a very good journal, very high impact journal, or something like that's also, of course, a reward for your own research.
Yes, this is great.
I would personally say if you do it just for those assessments and being judged by a bureaucrat who can only assess the number of reviews you did and not the quality of the work you did, I think just like paying people, that would just make people do many reviews but not good reviews.
Okay, that's another interesting topic. So paying people would decrease the quality of reviews. Maybe we can only pay those reviews that are considered as good for the community.
Well, you obviously know the science of this, don't you, in terms of the psychology of incentives for this sort of intellectual work. So, I mean, the general psychological review of this sort of work is if you incentivize through micropayments in terms of cash, that's productive for manual and non-intellectual work. Well, it's generally harmful as an incentive for intellectual or creative work. While if you give kind of social feedback, cues, rewards, maybe more the badge type thing, or the problem with badges is obviously that's come from pretty well gaming and gamification community and lacks respect in the scientific community. So it's unlikely to be very good to use that language, even though the concepts might be applicable. But basically the idea that you can incentivize peer review by paying people has no evidence, no community endorsement other than one trial of 36 people that you said, probably on some Telegram group. Psychologically has evidence that it won't work. And I think it's much stronger to concentrate on the reputation aspect.
Okay. Yeah. Some other thoughts on these topics?
I feel like it's more important to define openness as the review reports being open to read for everyone, but not necessarily at the time of review. Like perhaps this can be captured as like some sort of proof that at least like promise to release the authentic information in the future. Whereas like having everyone join in to do an open review, I think this isn't exactly the culture, the general culture that the current peer review system does, and it might be like kind of trying to push people into a culture to change the culture. It might be a high barrier to adoption. That's just some of my thoughts.
Yeah, of course, what we want to propose is open, it's opt-in. We are not going to force anybody to receive money or to publish their review in the open. Regarding the question on how well validated the receiving money for reviewers is we're going to launch a larger survey that people from our newsletters, up to 200 people will receive. We will move it in Twitter. We will move it in many other places. So if you are concerned on the validity of our hypothesis, please answer our survey and share with your colleagues so we get a bigger sample. Of course, we are sampling people that are already interested in our tool and that are close to our community. But that's what we need to validate, at least from our point of perspective. We want to validate a product, an idea that will be attractive for a community. If we can do that, we have success. That doesn't mean that all the scientists in all the disciplines might want to share in the open day reviews, or that they might want to have money. But it will mean that some people is willing to do it, and that will be great.
Yeah, my question, whether people are interested in being paid, was really an open question. I have no idea. Sorry? I do fear a bit. I really have no idea whether it would help or hurt. I do fear a bit about the quality. So I was wondering, how does your marketplace work? Can you somehow reward people more for making better reviews?
Yes, so we are now defining all this. And what I imagine is you get, for instance, a reward if you do a review in under 10 days. Then you receive rewards only if the journal editors, authors, and reviewers that evaluate the quality of your review thinks that is a fairly good review and not just a quick work to get some money. And regarding the quality, we also think that putting the review in the open will increase the quality and fairness, because at least me, I will be much more careful to be wrong or be unfair or be submit a work that has low quality if I know that my review will be seen openly in the internet later on with the paper. But yes, of course, we can only hope for that, and we can only experiment, see what doesn't work, and learn and improve. We have software, we have a prototype. The marketplace is still not working. What we have is a register of the reviewers. So a journal can contact a reviewer and ask for a review, but we don't have the payments yet. And that's because we also want to discuss with the community if they want the payments really, for which cases it makes sense, and all these that we are discussing today.
Well, I could tell you what you could kind of build on in terms of the quality of review and the reputation stuff, which is the open source project, or the subject that will be open sourced in July. It's got 2 years of development in it. Testnet's been up for over a year now. It uses multi-dimensional reputation with the 2-level cascade. So you get reviews of papers, and then you get reviews of reviews. And you can get those reviews in different disciplines. So you can have, in fact, different discipline models that combine the metrics of those reviews together to give you a reputation of the quality of both the review and of the paper. And so what you can use, and that's an open source project. So if we combine these approaches and build on it, we can
that will be great.
That kind of reputation. Yeah.
That will be great. Please write me, because I didn't got the name of the project, and if you're involved with that, we are checking other solutions. For instance, SourceGrid.
Yeah, SourceGrid.
SourceGrid, yeah. It's doing analysis of how good something is, doing network analysis similar to what PageRank algorithm, the Google algorithm, does. So only reviews that are widely shared as good, as an example of fair or of good quality, would receive more reputation or money or rewards. There is still a lot to learn. So
Victor just asked a question here: are there reviews of the reviews of the reviews? So like my original work in this area was in medicine, and it was in 1990, and I basically used like a PageRank algorithm to do reviews of reviews, and that basically ended up becoming liquid democracy. So with liquid democracy, you attach, you've got effectively a PageRank style algorithm that assigns reputation to people, and doing that in a multi-dimensional way, it can get very expensive computationally. And if you so the current implementation that I talked about for open science only does reputation of the two levels of reputation. But if you kind of model that mathematically, and you look at with kind of agent-based simulation, you look at the difference between a two-stage review of reviews and a kind of ultimate theoretical infinite cascade of reviews, you get most of what you want in the first two stages. And if you're doing stuff on chain, so for instance, it's almost impossible to do any of this on the Ethereum chain, right? Because it's too expensive, both in terms of computation and time, right? But so the particular project I'm talking about doesn't use a proof of stake. It uses actually a consensus algorithm based purely on scientific reputation. And that's much more computationally active, and you can use events and so forth to trigger an ongoing epistemic crypto economy, basically. But even that is quite expensive. So doing an infinite cascade of reviews is something you might want to tweak and evaluate and evolve under community direction, but we kind of need to start somewhere. So I think starting with the two-level cascade of reviews with strong identity, and then some good community and good application areas is what we really need. And the hardest bit is the community building. So what we really need to do is to work on that.
We need to work in the community building and then find the algorithms that work. But I agree, different things could work, and we can find implementations that are good enough and that are easy to understand and to compute. So we are almost 5 minutes to 6 o'clock. I was thinking to start closing this session, but wanted to give the floor to anybody who wants to share some final thoughts before we close today.
I still have one question on the basics. Why is this blockchain so important? Is it just a very secure database? Because I would personally say, if I do not trust you to pay me for my reviews, I'm not sure whether I would trust you much more than when there is some sort of a blockchain in the internet claiming I really did it.
So I'm not a blockchain maximalist. Blockchains have some good properties. For instance, with blockchain, you really have transparency. So if you signed that you did something, for instance, a review, and put it openly in the blockchain, then you cannot say you didn't do that review. So this is something. It gives us transparency. And also it gives us resilience. It's a place where we can share data that will probably be there in several years. So we are using blockchain to increase this transparency and also to facilitate the payments. But of course, we don't want to be a monopoly. If you don't want to use us to pay your reviewers, you can pay them with normal currencies through other channels. We just want to facilitate putting journals in contact with reviewers. Other actors can come. And thanks to our use of blockchain, other people can see our data is open data and can build services that compete with us. So blockchain helps us with that as well. We will build an open ecosystem that we cannot own and close. So we cannot become another closed garden software like we've seen so many in the history of academic tools. So.
Okay, so I guess Publon is a closed database.
Exactly.
And they own their data basically. Okay.
And we will do an open database, and we will have really a lot of trouble to make it disappear because it will be in a public blockchain.
Okay, good point.
Mahesh Karnani, I don't know if I pronounced the name correctly, said that is involved with peer community in. we might be open to finding the communities to try something like this. That's really awesome. I'm seeing your email here and saving it for later. If you want to join the conversation and tell us more about your project.
Oh, yeah. So this is the peer community in project. We manage a small sub-branch of it called peer community in circuit neuroscience. But I think there might be some quite receptive communities, especially in ecology and evolutionary biology, who might be interested in trying something like this. So we can certainly talk much more about this.
Great. I will write you, and hopefully we can find ways to collaborate. Thank you.
Really cool. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
I want to quickly respond to the comment about mechanism of compensation for reviewers. I think like paying for labor is especially important in open communities, because otherwise only the people who has external source of funding can contribute. So in the end, is it really a open community? So I think like asking people to first submit reviews, and then only like the top people get approved, they get paid. That might be discouraging to a lot of people. So in a sense, we need to like, but we also can't just let anyone contribute. So maybe there needs to be some bootstrap mechanism of reputation. And if there is, I think that reputation system needs to be open to like be with your, what you said about other people being able to like hook into the blockchain. Otherwise, if you have like a proprietary database of review reputation, then you basically have the community.
Yeah, we are thinking to have really low barriers to enter. And we are thinking maybe to have an ORS ID, as somebody who did some research would be enough to enter the community. But again, open to discussion. And yes, we are thinking about paying because we are part also of these people thinking about labor in platforms, yes, platform cooperatives, how platforms abuse their users and makes a lot of profit without giving back. So we don't want to be these people, and we want to promote a healthy community that earns what they deserve for their work. And yeah, we don't want to pay just the top part of the community. We want to redistribute yes, all the wealth that we can create together. Well, so I think that's it. We are 2 minutes to 6, so just wanted to thank you all. Also wanted to make a note on all of the people who spoke today being male. I know it's difficult for communities around technology and blockchain, and I'm in part responsible for not promoting other voices to be heard. So just as a close remark, thank you all.
Just on that note, in the science peer review platform that we're working on with other open partners, building in deliberative polling, citizen assemblies, is a core methodology that we can add. So what you can do is, if you want, for instance, to ensure that a peer evaluation of a paper, represents the right spectrum of a spectrum of views across the, say, the political spectrum from right to left, or has the right gender balance, or reflects views on the ground. You have the option to add that to the review panel, if you like, or the review algorithm. And you can do that with zero knowledge proofs. So what you can do is people can enter in information about their demographics, their sexual preference, their gender, their political views, and that material can be exposed in such a way that you can assemble peer review panels which respect demographics without that information ever leaving your laptop or your secure data provenance, if you like. So doing that and building that into the epistemic architecture, I think is really, really important point. It's not just like, oh, we should get more women turning up into the Zoom chat. It's really thinking, if we want to ensure proper science, how do we use demographics?
That's a really good point. And we were thinking of promoting or giving prizes to journals that are diverse and that promote diversity in their authors and reviewers. But of course, there are algorithms, and thanks for sharing. I'm really happy on all the information I learned today, and to meet you all, guys.
Well, I got your email, so definitely email and the people that I got contact with, and it's all about working together, really. That's what fundamentally open science and open access and open source is about. So we can't do jack shit solo. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Write us to hi@decentralized.science if you want something else. I'm leaving the email in the chat. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'm stopping recording now.